standing up to Putin, the incredible large growth in the jobs, unemployment rate down. I'll give you your greatest hits. The lowest uninsured rate in history, 4 out of 5 Americans are covered for less than $10 a month. Knocking off a few ISIS leaders, cutting the emissions in half. I mean, you've always been an environmentalist. You know, the reason I'm
So he's always been an environmentalist. He just opened up the Arctic to drilling. Him and Obama bragged that they drilled more oil during his administration than all the other administrations. I don't know what he did. The Nord Stream pipeline, they blew that up. Biggest methane gas release.
Well, that's
the biggest eco-terrorism in the history of the world.
Putin.
So Joe fixed everything, Kurt, and he's got another 4 years left in him too. Just look at him. Does he look like he's got? Hey, if Howard Stern's name isn't on the Epstein flight list, it's because he took a boat. Okay,
he took the cruise. He took the Epstein cruise.
I mean, I can't get past that. That used to be a guy who their parents wouldn't let people listen to.
He's another great dad.
I'm talking about Howard Stern.
Yeah, Howard Stern's a great. But wait, who's getting less than $10 insurance a month?
What is he talking about?
Most people insured for what?
For $10 a month?
You can't even get your dog insured for that.
He sounds like he's selling a reverse mortgage. We'll give you life insurance. I don't care how old you are, how sick you are. I'll get you for $10 a month. Life insurance. Remember you see those commercials?
Yeah.
Michael Tracy says, I've listened to probably thousands of hours of Howard Stern. Don't ask. And this is the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard from him. Gushes how lucky we all are to have Biden as a father of our country with an organized administration and for standing up to Putin.
Those are bullet points.
Yeah. I don't. So here's Medea Benjamin tweeted underneath that, said, you forgot to thank him for the slaughter of 34,000 Palestinians, Howard. Hey, someone got to Howard big time. He's drugged. It's so disgusting. Like every comment. So
it's the most shill. First of all, he changed when he brought that Marcy Turk life coach.
So I'm going to show that. Yeah. I'm going to show. So hey, let me do a little bit more, and then we'll show you what happened to him. Howard the coward. He ruined his legacy by becoming an establishment stooge as soon as he got money. I listened to him for a bit back in the mid to late 90s. Stern, that is exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
They gave him $400 million, and then he became an establishment stooge. I mean, he already kind of was. I listened to him for a bit back in the mid to late 90s. Stern is a shadow of his former self. I don't know when he put on those deluxe knee pads, but he clearly likes to use them. Howard Stern is to boomer liberals what AM radio is to boomer conservatives. Narrative gatekeeping for the permanent state. There's a little bit more.
He could be a new Oprah.
I like how they say someone got to Howard. Really? Like, how could they find anything to blackmail Howard Stern with? You've been reading too many comic books.
Well, when I get to him, he got all the things, like he was the king of radio, right? I guess he still is. And then he got to be a judge of that stupid show. And then what was left for him to conquer? So he has an elevator. He has an elevator, so he doesn't have to see regular people. He can just drive his car into the building, and there's an elevator to his office. You don't have to touch anyone. He could every like crazy thing. Like, what's left for him to do except that? Like, you know, it's not like they had to pull his arm that hard to get him to change. He was already a narcissist, kind of like. He said he had a demon in him in his books. I read all his books.
I like you hear a lot of. I used to like him back when he was degrading women. Now he's just.
I loved it.
Now he's just degrading me, and I don't like that.
He used to do it to, you know, if you had like a mental disability too, but it was inclusive. You know, now it's exclusive.
Yeah.
High Pitch Eric was being included. He wasn't being excluded. The new Howard's about exclusion.
Howard Stern is like the perfect mixture of narcissist and narc.
Yeah, he became. Wow, he shortened it to just narc, I guess.
Now he's just narc. Stern has become the embodiment of everything he despised when he was entertaining and relevant. He's a Hollywood ass-kissing sellout who puts everything he says through a filter of political correctness. How does this loser possibly have any listeners anymore? I can't believe people. I mean, really. I never liked Howard Stern, but I could see when his show was more of a circus It was
It used to be insane, and I would be doing sheetrock with Chaz Long Construction. Maybe put on Howard.
But so I could see how it was kind of a circus and it could be entertaining. And, you know, he's a guy who got famous by describing lesbians having sex on the radio.
Right. And now that's a school. Well, you know, now that's an elementary school curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he really actually, it does make a lot of sense.
Now you think about it. You really. Howard Stern looks like a hippie, sounds like a Fed, and he was always willing to tongue bathe a true blue war criminal.
Whoa. Oh, I thought actual RFK wrote that.
No.
And I was like, no, it's somebody who likes
No,
RFK.
it's just someone who likes him.
Wait, all the things that Howard Stern had on his morning show for if you're somebody doing construction with adults is now stuff for kids in school almost exclusively. Like all the, it's like a Sibian riding. I'm sure that's a class somewhere.
You want to hear his fantasy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, this. Whoa, this is too hot for TV. This one.
Let's watch. This is remember what his fantasies used to be? His fantasies used to be about lesbians double teaming him and
banging Drew Barrymore's mom. That was in Private Parts. That was he had a whole list of all the women he had on, and who would bang him if his wife died. The second his wife, he wouldn't cheat on his wife. But if she died,
so
those
used to be his fantasies.
Yeah.
Now you want to know what his fantasy is now? Watch this.
Tell you what fantasy I had. If you, I don't know if you're going to debate your opponent.
I am somewhere. I don't know when. I'm happy to debate him.
Can I? Now his fantasy. Well, his fantasy now is a concentration camp for the unvaccinated. So here we go.
Tell you what fantasy I had. If you, I don't know if you're going to debate your opponent.
I am somewhere. I don't know when. I'm happy to debate him.
This is how I would handle it. Tell me if I'm nuts. I am nuts. But tell me if this is accurate. I would stand there on stage with Trump and I would repeat over and over again, excuse me, please find me 11,000 votes so that I can win the election. I would just repeat that over and over again. And then I'd say to the audience, what are we debating? A man picked up the phone and wanted to say, fake the election, give me 11,000 votes. I don't know how any American who loves this country, that's the end of the debate. You don't get to run if you're going to fix an election.
On January.
Is Howard Stern's next job on The View? I'm serious.
Yeah, he's a View
Like,
lady.
who else gives a shit about that?
He's going to have a Joy Behar wig and he's going to do The View. But imagine being only a guy with a car elevator that takes him to his office would think that that's a real gotcha. Like he almost prevented Biden from taking over. Oh no! Like are you joking? Everybody else that doesn't have that is not having a great time since Biden's been in.
I like how he says, "Tell me if I'm nuts." He says to Joe Biden, "Tell me if I'm nuts." That's like asking your dog if your ass smells funny.
You know what? Neither of them. I know where everybody gets these conspiracies that think people have been replaced because these do look like animatronic.
Yes,
some things. Biden, he's straight out of the Hall of Praise. Look at just his waxy, just stretched skin, and he's like,
but look,
Jesus Christ!
When
look at his hands. What is that?
And Howard Stern put on a suit for this, but I don't know if you noticed. It looks like the kind of suit you would wear to a funeral because
I know.
I think Joe Biden was wheeling him in for a wake.
It really is like he's interviewing an open casket corpse.
Yes.
Dressed like a witch. This is like the Crypt Keeper and the Spooky Witch from the comics.
He became everything he hated. It is remarkable to see a lot of people that happened to during COVID. They became people who considered themselves anti-establishment, became mouthpieces and enforcers for the establishment.
He became that early.
People who, I'm just saying, it's funny to watch it happen to people during COVID. It happened to Howard Stern, but way before that.
When Hillary lost, that's when they had the first wave of we're going to push the whatever the hell emotional button that makes you an idiot, and he was on board for that. Then COVID wasn't like another, okay, we're pulling the lever.
But you saw comedians who consider themselves, anti-establishment, become enforcers for the establishment narrative and shame people for questioning. You saw those people.
Well, it was Trump. Okay, wait. Oh, you're talking about during COVID?
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm not talking about open micers. I'm talking about comedians at the tippy top of comedy.
No, if you're at the tippy top, what are you going to go against that? You're going to have some problems.
They all became so they're. People who consider themselves lefty comedians became authoritarians.
You want to take on Neil Young? I don't want that coming.
Became authoritarians, wanting to mandate experimental medical treatments. I know a comedian who was for forced medical treatments, vaccinations, for mandating it, and then the vaccination that he took, they took it off the market because the people were getting blood clots.
Johnson & Johnson?
He took that one, but he was for mandating it.
What does he say now?
But they don't say anything now.
No, they're more worried about this.
They don't say anything now. They still have. So you want to know what happened to Howard Stern? Tell him what happened. He got this woman.
Yeah.
So this is from May 1st, 2017. She's rarely mentioned on the air. She doesn't have a funny nickname like producer Gary Bababooey, nor is she endlessly teased or tormented like the staff writer. So who is this woman? Tell everybody who that woman is, Kurt.
The COO. I didn't know she's chief operating officer. So there's an older video where Howard is doing like this. It looks like he's doing like an Apple get excited people thing about selling merch and like ways to like game the algorithm. It's really gross. It's real like the worst like infomercial dipshit thing.
And who is she?
She's the one that taught him to do that. She read some book about like organizing. She wrote a book that he read, and he brought her in as a coach.
So she's like a life coach.
She's a handler, is what the fuck she is. I say. I think she's a handler. Just
so
like
once the establishment hands you $500 million, that comes with a handler.
He's on a talent show, a very important talent show, with a very checkered past of blackface. Now that's not such a big deal. You can rise the level of Prime Minister of Canada with that.
Yeah,
but you're going to have a handler, and I think that's what she is.
So her name is Marcy Turk. She is the chief operating officer of Mr. Stern's radio operations.
When she came in, back then when she came in and you would hear people talking about it, all the people that have been on the show, they didn't talk about it in any kind of like scary way. It was just like, oh, he got this chick and it was pretty mundane. But now I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's your handle. You don't get all that money without having someone there. Kanye West had that personal trainer. Remember who was threatening to have him so drugged he wouldn't recognize his kids?
Yes.
And the guy is from Canada, but yet he worked for the DOD. Now Kanye has forsworn all that and he makes porn. So Kanye's back in the fold now, don't worry. There's always like a handler that comes and deals with them. But it's not like, I don't want to imply like Stern changed into a different guy because of her. No, he was always that piece of shit.
Yes.
He was an underdog though. And so her coaching helps him always maintain the idea that he's some kind of underdog when he's not an underdog. And that's how he can imagine, like, oh no, if Trump gets it. Like how Robert De Niro, he's got the same De Niro brain about Trump, like a bloodbath.
How old is Howard Stern? He's 70. So he's about 10 years younger than Joe Biden. And do you think that's his real hair, or do you think that's a wig?
That's clearly a Ronald McDonald wig that they spray painted black.
Okay. All right. I have one more. I'm going to show you all the lies, the litany of lies that Joe Biden spewed on Howard Stern. And Howard Stern, of course. Well, Howard Stern plays along. He also lies with him. It's amazing to watch Howard Stern turn into the establishment propagandist and narrative enforcer.
He was always a great pick for it. If they persecuted him in the early days, the FCC or whatever, but he's a guy that like, I read all his books, man. I remember when when I was young, he got that movie made. That was a big deal. And if you go back and listen to stories telling, he's kind of a piece of shit. It's just that he was not the establishment, and he was and it was more interesting and real and this and that. But his character's always been like, there's people scaring me and I want them dead. In fact, that's a line, I believe, from either Miss America or I read both of them. And he's very clear about being pro-death down the line, like your Bill Maher's and such.
Yeah.
Right? Bill Maher's like, I think it's killing a kid and I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like they're both that. So why would, it's not like they're turning on something. They already were like this. It's just that the actual government has become this, and it's horrifying. Like Pfizer's down with like with devil worship dance on a music show. It used to be like always had those kind of things, like a metal band that loves Satan, but Pfizer didn't go, oh, this we're with this. That's the crazy part, you know? It wasn't elementary school things. It was stuff adults were into. Now it's for kids. Drag queens want Howard Stern show.
That's right.
So
That's right.
so and as an adult, you're supposed to not know about any of it, but your kids are supposed to have it.
Okay. All right, over to Steph.
Okay.
If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
At this time, more than any other time, you know, revolution is necessary. It is necessary. Not only based on what has happened with the MOVE organization, you know, the babies that have been murdered, you know, MOVE adults that have been murdered, bombs being dropped on us, but past that to what is happening with all black people, so-called minority people, you know, money poor people. You know, this government, as has been said earlier, has waged war on us. But you know, something about us, particularly here in America, we don't really understand that. You know, we don't really know what war is. You know, for black people, for poor people, that people see as good, that they wasn't forced to do, that they didn't do to try to keep black people appeased, you know, and calm down so that black people wouldn't riot. A prison situation is a crystallized example of that. You can make phone calls in prison. They have movies in prison, but they don't have those things because they just want to be nice to prisoners. They have those things because they know damn well if they don't have, you know, people being able to contact their family, if they don't have, you know, facilities for people to sit there and watch movies, people are going to be frustrated, upset, and they're going to direct that frustration at them prison administrators, and they're going to have riots on their hands. You know, they're going to have people in them prisons turning them prisons out. That's why they have movies. That's why they have access to phones the way they do. And a stop to it when we don't like it, or encouraging it when it's something that's in our interest. You know, we have to call the shots. The people have to take the reins of this system and start dictating, you know, what we need, what needs to be done. And, you know, taking the initiative to do it ourselves. We can't rely on this system. I mean, you know, don't people see what's happening? Every single confrontation that MOVE people have been involved in, every single issue, you know, oppression, economic issues, every single issue facing our people, you know, is something that can be dealt with very, very simply. All people got to do is make their wishes known. All people have to do is stand up and say, listen, we're not accepting that. Unity is the key. Unity is the key to revolution. Revolution ain't nothing to be afraid of. It ain't nothing to shy away from. Revolution, contrary to what officials, you know, this system and those backing the officials running the system, you know, want people to believe that revolution means violence, you know, means blood in the street. I'm saying it can get to that point, but it don't have to be violent. You know, when people come together and take a strong stand on an issue, this government don't have no choice but to listen. Where you think they get their authority from? They don't have no power, but they do have authority to do certain things. Where you think they get it from? They get it from us, from the people. You know, they get it from us accepting the things that they do to be done to stop it. Then you have some people who want to then turn around and say, yeah, well, you know, it's the best we have, and want to make excuses. The time for excuses is over. It's over. You know, every man, woman, and child has to be involved in this revolution. Not only has to be, but is, whether you want to be or not. I mean, our babies gave their lives for this revolution on May 13th. You know, men, women, and children were murdered. And not just MOVE babies, you know. What about all of the young men, women, you know, children 8, 9 years old shot down on the street by cops, you know, by drug pushers? I mean, you know, where do you think that mentality comes from? It comes from this system, from the mentality of this system of getting over, you know, making a quick buck, you know. I'm saying that's where that needs to be done to stop it. Then, you know, what I want people to really, really understand is that it's past time. It is past time for poor people, black people, you know, to realize that this system has failed you. It has failed you. You can't get nothing from it. And what people got to do is withdraw our support from it and start doing for ourselves. That's what we got to do. You know, how long are people going to sit back and beg, you know, this government to do what's right when for hundreds of years all you've gotten is a slap in the face? All you've gotten is this government kicking your ass. That's all. That's all black people have ever gotten from this government.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit